What is going on, New York Jets fans? First couple days of the Combine in the books. As always, a hot topic during the Combine is the 40 times, specifically at wide receiver. Who is running fast? Who is running slow? Whose draft stock is rising and falling because of their 40 time? And I think everybody who's kind of in the know knows their football, knows that the 40 time is overrated to some degree. However, I do think it matters, and I'm going to explain why. I just jotted down right off the top of my head 15 of the best receivers in football. In no particular order, maybe I missed a name or two, but I think you would all agree that all 15 of these guys would probably at least fit in to your top 20, and you'd be happy to have them on your team. Now, here we go. In no particular order, 15 of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Chris Godwin, DK Metcalf, Amari Cooper, DeAndre Hopkins, Jamar Chase, AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel, Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, and Brandon Cooks. Okay, those are my 15. You might say, hey, what about Hunter Renfrow, CeeDee Lamb, what Jalen Waddle did as a rookie? Okay, maybe they'd be in your top 15, but I think this holds up for the argument I'm going to make, these 15 guys. 11 of these 15 ran sub 4.5 at either their combine, or there was one pro day number I had to grab because somebody skipped the combine here. 11 of the 15 ran in the 4.4s or lower. Now, the 4 players who ran 4.5 or slower all bring something to the table that makes them really unique and special and dynamic and compensates for their lack of straight line speed. Starting with Cooper Kupp, who ran like 4.62. Cooper Kupp is almost in a tier unto himself because he had maybe the best wide receiver season ever, definitely since Jerry Rice. And Cooper Kupp's ability to release at the line of scrimmage and separate at the top of the route is unmatched, completely unmatched. Does those things better than any receiver we've seen probably since Rice. So he's kind of in a tier unto himself. He's just built different, Cooper Kupp. Now, the other 3 guys that ran slower than 4 of 4 in the 4.5s or lower, Deebo Samuel, Mike Evans, and Keenan Allen. And I think you could make an argument that each of those 3 guys does something better than any other receiver in the league. You can make an argument. Deebo Samuel, better with the ball in his hands than any receiver in the NFL. Built like a running back. 49ers use him as a running back. He helps you in short yardage. His ability to be available on tosses and jet sweeps and reverses really helps your horizontal spacing of your offense. Make sure the defense has to account for him at all times. He's special. He's unique. That skill set he has as a running back more than compensates for his lack of straight line speed. Next, Mike Evans. Maybe the biggest catch radius in the NFL for a wide receiver. He's 6'5" and change, built like a tight end, broad shoulders, long arms, huge hands, red zone, 50-50 balls, back shoulder fades. He does those things as well as anybody in the NFL. More than compensates for his lack of straight line speed. Keenan Allen. Maybe a little bit more difficult, not as obvious. However, I think you could make an argument that he, along with Cooper Kupp and probably Stephon Diggs, are the elite route runners of this group. Keenan Allen, not a huge guy, not an elite athlete by NFL wide receiver standards, but a really, really crisp route runner. Runs the whole route tree. His timing, the chemistry he builds with his quarterbacks, his ability to be the toe drag swag on the sideline is special. Is really special. He's like a ballerina on the sideline. Him and Diggs do that better than anyone else. So now you have to ask yourselves, okay, if I'm looking at taking a guy 10th overall, and he runs slower than 4.5, like Treylon Burks did, like Drake London probably would have if he participated, what do they do differently? What dynamic skill are they bringing to the table to compensate for that lack of a fast 40? And it's interesting because those 2 guys, Treylon Burks and Drake London, 2 of their pro comps are 2 guys I just mentioned. Drake London has been linked to being maybe the next Mike Evans, with the combination of size and route running and hands. So sometimes maybe that unique trait that compensates for lack of speed is just being a bigger dude. Guys 6'4", well into the above 200 pounds, are not going to burn like the two Ohio State receivers who are both, 6 foot, 190. So that's something to think about. If Drake London's going to be the next Mike Evans, I don't care what he runs. Mike Evans is coming off like 8 straight 1,000-yard seasons. So I'm okay with Drake London at 10 because of his route running, his size, his hands. I'm fine with it. Now, Deebo Samuel. Treylon Burks, who has been comped to maybe the next Deebo Samuel. I don't know if that's fair because Deebo Samuel is such a unicorn with his ability as a running back. But maybe he can do some similar things. And another comp that I think is more realistic has been A.J. Brown. But A.J. Brown just made my cutoff, 4.49. So am I going to lose my mind that Treylon Burks ran like 0.4 of a second slower than A.J. Brown? And even though Treylon Burks is 2 inches taller and has bigger hands, no, that's not a huge deal to me. And again, the size, being 225, maybe that's the unique skill set that he brings, being able to break tackles, being able to, with huge hands and play strong, win at the top of the route. So I'm still okay with Drake London or Trey Burks at 10. My number one guy is now, I think, Garrett Wilson, but that's not because of the 40 time. That's because of his just overall ability as a wide receiver. So this combine hasn't changed how I feel about any of these guys a ton. Now, I think you want to have a cutoff point, like if Treylon Burks went out there and ran like 4.63, that okay, now you're a little worried. But as long as you're like mid 4.5s, 4.56, 4.55 and under, I think that's fine as long as you're bringing something else to the table. And on the flip side, if we look at the guys, the 15 guys I just named, only 2 of them would you say have that like elite track speed, low 4.3s or lower. And that is Tyreek Hill and Brandon Cooks. The rest of the guys are just in the 4.4s. And if we think to drafts in recent memory, if we think of the guy who gets drafted because of his quote unquote track speed, Marquise Goodwin, Justin Ross, JJ Nelson, a lot of those guys don't pan out. If the first thing you're saying about a guy is, oh, he has track speed, it's probably not a good sign. I want the first thing I'm saying about a guy is he's a great route runner. He has reliable hands. He's really good at the contested catch point. He's good in the red zone. He's a hard worker. If that's the first thing out of your mouth, then it's probably saying maybe he's not a great football player. Tyreek Hill is like the only guy who's ever come out and been a track guy who really, it really translated to the football field. And people keep trying to draft that next Tyreek Hill. It just hasn't worked out. And even you think, oh, well, it'll at least be a deep threat like a Deshaun Jackson. It's still, there's these guys who run 4.3 and they still can't get open, even on just go routes. So you got to trust your eyes. You have to trust the production and have a cutoff point for how much speed you need to get separation in the NFL. And if they don't hit that, ask yourselves what other traits are they bringing to the table to make them dynamic playmakers at the next level. Trey Burks and Drake London both have those attributes. I'm fine with either of them at 10. What do you think about the NFL wide receiver 40 times? Let me know in the comments below, and go Jets.